Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome. You've joined us on Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me is Sonia Shenoy. Good afternoon, Sonia. So it's a truncated week and the markets were expected to be lackluster, but at this point, it is at least off the low point of the day. So Sensex as well as Nifty, both in the red at this point. Bank Nifty is also a drag, but what's really doing well is the mid-cap index, which is outperforming. It's a rupee factor, which is playing a lot as well, and that's spurring the IT pack as well. But some of the banks are the major draggers as well as the major contributors on the back of news also coming in on Kotak Mahindra Bank. So that particular counter remains a cause of concern.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a great outcome for the bulls, you know, give and take all the depression that we've seen across the globe. This is not a bad place to be at all. And it's only Kotak Mahindra Bank that's really dragging the markets lower. X of that, if you look at it, a lot of large caps are hitting new 52-week highs or all-time highs today. Sun Pharma, Axis Bank, Infosys, Bajaj Finance, broader market performers like Dabur, Havels. So the list is pretty endless. It's definitely a market that is still in the grip of the bulls. Just a few stocks here and there really pooping the party. But across the globe, Europe opens higher following news that China has accepted an invitation from the United States to talk trade in late August. The Asian markets closed lower. However, the focus is on the money market and that continues to be unchanged, especially with the rupee hitting an all-time low. Let's get Manisha Gupta in to know the key reasons for the falls. Manisha, hi, afternoon. So if you map it with the other emerging market currencies over the years, it's still been an outperformance, right? I mean, we're not as bad. But just in isolation, looks like a bad picture.
Oh, well, yes. Also, when you look at the within emerging market and Asian currencies, it is one of the worst performers, really, because we are down nearly 12% now for this year. We have seen all-time lows back-to-back for last 4 sessions now, and we've seen an all-time low of 70.32 today. We did see some improvement from there on, but it really seems to be coming back to those kind of levels. The US dollar has been on the stronger side, and that continues to put much of the pressure on the emerging market currencies here. You know, until now, it really has been about the global markets. That's exactly what the RBI and the government also have been saying. But now, if you look inward, the domestic cues also seem to be turning in the negative. So whether it is the trade deficit, which is soared to a near 5-year highs of $18 billion, or the current account deficit concerns, the capital outflows is yet another reason that you have seen pressure come in for the currency. And since the time it has broken above that level of 70, and we have seen RBI interventions really not impacted so much, you are looking at those levels of 70.5 and 71, even 72 by the end of this year flying around. So that is the kind of bearishness we are working with right now. And there is actually no help coming in from the crude prices, internal domestic cues or the international cues as well.
All right, Manisha, thanks so much for giving us that understanding. So take a look at rupee movement today, and it's at the low point of the day. So not looking like it's gaining any strength at all. But remember that when we look at the overall markets and the economics of rupee, it has a huge impact across the board. There are importers as well as exporters who are impacted. Let's take it straight to Sonal Bhutra, who is joining us with the analysis on what does rupee weakness mean for the companies, who are the gainers and who are the losers.
Thanks a lot for that, Nisha. And yes, as you rightly pointed out, the rupee depreciation will not only impact the economy as a whole, but there are some micro factors also that will be impacted. So I'll just straight away get to the positives. Which are the company which will be positively impacted? The exporters of goods and services are expected to gain. Of course, pharma and IT companies are something that I'll be looking out for, because these companies were laggards at a point in time because of the exposure to US markets. But the strengthening dollar will be good for these companies, and that's why I'm looking at companies like HCL Tech, TCS, Infosys, and pharma majors like Sun Pharma and Dr. Reddy's that are expected to gain from this particular movement. Apollo Hospitals, Narayan Hrudyalaya are also expected to gain from the medical tourism that will take place in the companies going forward. The major movers, the electrode companies like HEG and Graphite, also are expected to benefit from this particular movement. Automakers like Bajaj Auto, TVS Motors, and M&M can also benefit from the exports. The other point that I'll be looking out for is the are these consumer companies like ITC, Marico, Imami and Tata Global Beverages. Though the revenues from revenue contribution is around 2 to 3%, but definitely this is a sentiment positive. Banking major HDFC Bank is also expected to gain from the trend of net forex earnings. However, I just would want to say that this is based on the past 3 years net forex earnings of the BSE 500 companies. Now on the flip side, there will be some companies which will be negatively impacted. The big ones will be like the oil refiners, IOC, BPCL that import a lot of crude. Power companies like Tata Power, Adani Power, Inox Wind may also be hit because of the higher debt in foreign currency. Housing finance companies which overseas debt will also be impacted by this rupee movement. However, this depends on the extent of pricing power that these companies take and also their hedging strategy. But this is the overall picture how these companies might be impacted. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot for putting that into perspective for us, Sonal. So that's the impact that the rupee would have. Still above that, or rather below that $70 mark, so quite weak actually there for the rupee. In a CNBC exclusive, the former Reserve Bank Governor Raghuram Rajan talked about the impact of the ongoing currency crisis and how he sees emerging market economies from here. He believes that the state of the emerging markets is way better than what it was in 2013. No comparisons there, and that a rupee hitting an all-time low is really not much of a concern. Take a look.
It's early days, and I think the real problem is Turkey is an outlier, both in terms of the leverage that has built up over the years and the quality of policy, which has been pretty bad. So it may be an early warning. It may be something which doesn't spread more widely because Turkey is special. There are, of course, other countries which are in some situations of fragility because they have upcoming elections, they have a large current account deficit, they have a large fiscal deficit. But in general, emerging markets look a lot better than they looked in, say, 2013 when we had the taper tantrum. I think the rupee has been strengthening in real terms for quite some time. The inflation rate has been modest but slightly above world inflation rates. And as a result, the rupee needs a modest weakening over time. So I'm not too concerned about the rupee hitting an all-time low. It's more a factor of dollar strength rather than necessarily rupee weakness. But I would say that broadly, you want to look at countries with large current account deficits as well as a high level of debt.
All right, so all those important words really coming in from Raghuram Rajan. With that, we'll step into a short breather on Business Lunch. But coming up on the other side, the Kotak Mahindra Bank, that stock is in focus.
Hi, welcome back to Business Lunch. The space to be in this afternoon definitely is mid-cap IT. Just look at some of these stocks soar. Sonata Software is now at the high point of trade. Of course, they spoke to us a while back. The commentary was positive. So just look at that stock now. Well up in the green. It has a couple of other stocks for company as well. So there you have it, 12% higher now on Sonata Software. Let's also focus on some breaking news that you're getting on your screens. I have my colleague Ritu Singh who joins in, and sources tell her that the banks have approached the RBI to prevent JP Associates from being sent to the NCLT. So JP Associates, this is of course a positive if it's accepted. Ritu is here with us. Ritu, hi, good afternoon. What are you picking up?
Well, hi, good afternoon, Sonia. That's right. You know, the lead banker in the consortium, that is ICICI Bank, has started talks with the Reserve Bank of India once again to see if Jayaprakash Associates, which is the parent company of JP Infra, can be kept out of NCLT proceedings. This is because, you know, as they had earlier also argued, a debt restructuring plan for the company is very much in place. In fact, since last year, the Ultratech deal has also concluded, and most of that money has already flown back into the bank's, books, as has been returned by, Ultratech, that has assumed about 14,000 crores of the company's debt. You know, under the plan, about 10,000 crores of the remaining debt was to be transferred to an SPV, and 6,000 crores would remain on the company's books as sustainable debt. But that demerger is still pending NCLT clearance, which is why, ICICI Bank has sought more time from RBI to allow for this recast plan to be implemented and therefore prevent the company from going into NCLT, where the entire procedure of, finding a suitor for the company or, planning another restructuring for the company would have to be started from scratch. Almost a year has gone by, since it was identified in RBI's second list. But yes, conversations with RBI are on, although, as has been the case in the past, it's unlikely that RBI will concede to this request, but nonetheless, the banks are trying.
All right. Thanks, Ritu, for getting us all those exclusive details. So long and tedious task on that resolution plan. But let's shift focus on Kotak Mahindra Bank, and that stock is under pressure. In fact, that stock has gone to the lowest point of the day as well. It is the biggest drag on Nifty 50 as well. And all this after the Reserve Bank of India dismissed the bank's plan to dilute its promoter stake. Abhishek Kothari is here to put all that into perspective. Abhishek.
Well, Nisha, to begin with, RBI has clearly mentioned that the issuance of preference shares does not meet the criteria of lowering the promoter holding. But Kotak Bank has said that they will engage further talks with RBI as they believe that the preference issue that they were doing meets the RBI's criteria norms. Bank has approved, preference share issue of worth about 500 crores to lower the promoter holding to slightly below 20% from current level of 30% odd. What this impacts, the RBI demand impacts on Kotak is that the promoter have to bring down their stake to 20% by December 2018 as against 30% that they hold right now. So what are the options? One is mergers and acquisitions. Second is issuance of fresh equity, or third one to pare down his own stake, that is Uday Kotak's own stake, and bring down to 10%. So what this will lead is a fresh round of selling or supplies coming in worth about 24 to 25,000 crore, which can keep the stock under pressure. We had reached out to the management on Tuesday morning. As per our sources, RBI and Finance Ministry were against the move, as this is not the right this move is not in right spirit. They were also against the move of preference issue to bring down the promoter holding due to the fact that it will lead to bad precedents in the coming future. So therefore they had opposed it, and there were also opposition from industry stalwarts. Move was seen as unfair because some of the companies like Union Bank of India had issued preference share, but that was not accounted in the book. So they had done fresh issuance of equity as against PNCP being counted for the promoter holding. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Kotak Mahindra Bank down about 3.5% right now. But let's flip to the stock that has been making new highs. In fact, Reliance Industries is the top weighted stock on the Nifty for the first time since 2012. So its weightage has increased substantially over the last many weeks and months. Nigel is here with some data analysis. Nigel.
Reliance Industries is back. It's the boss of the index of the Nifty, in today's trading session. It's a top-weighted stock, and in fact, for the first time in more than half a decade, that Reliance Industries is back up there. If you look at it, well, Reliance Industries intraday, it mildly overtook HDFC Bank, and HDFC Bank, remember, has been the one that's been holding pole position for a lot of the last few months odd. Well, in the last few years, Reliance Industries had stepped back, and the ones that really overtook the leadership were ITC, Infosys, ICICI Bank, as well as HDFC Bank. At some point of time, all of them said, well, we are the boss of the index. But if you look at the way the weightage has moved, back then in 2012, it was the highest weight in Jan 2012, in fact, 8.7%. Then it seemed to have lost its way. The weightage fell down all the way to around 5%. And then, in fact, in the last 1 year, the weightage increase on the index has moved from around 6% to around 9.5%. So the weight on the index of Reliance Industries has moved up by nearly around 50%. I remember a decade ago, at that point of time, the total weightage on the index was calculated as per market capitalization. Now, in fact, it's on free float market capitalization. So at that point of time, Reliance Industries even had 12 to around 13% in terms of the weightage. And now, in fact, it's at around 9.45%. But the mode of computation really had changed. In the last 1 year, though, the previous graph should come up for you. Well, Reliance Industries is up nearly around 50%. The index, as the Nifty, is up only around 17%. So it's been a massive outperformer. And importantly, in terms of total market capitalization that it has added is 2.8 lakh crores. That's only the addition in the last 1 year. There are a lot of companies out there and big names whose total market capitalization is less than 2.8 lakh crores. So you should pull up some of those names. If you just want to put it simply, Reliance Industries market cap that it's added nearly one SBI, one Maruti Suzuki, one Kotak Mahindra Bank, and the list goes on as well. So after more than a decade, Reliance Industries is back. It's the boss of the Nifty, holding a weightage of around 9.45%.
All right, so that was all about the movement in Reliance Industries. In fact, Bank Nifty has gone a little more subdued at this point. Yes, Bank is pulling it down. With that, we'll slip into a short breather. But remember, the conditions worsen in Kerala due to the continuous downpour in the state, and the state government declares a red alert in all the 14 districts. All the update coming up next.